What's up, ladies and gentlemen? It is the Ysn Power Hour, and we are powered by our friends over at Toyota of Warren. DJ Yoakley with you. Super happy to be back. Things have slowed down enough, and we've got enough bandwidth now that we can bring the show back and bring some guests on. Today is no exception. We're starting things off with a bang with one of my good buddies who is in his first year at the Ysn High School, coaching the girls basketball team. Lavelle Turnage will join us at about 3:30, and we'll talk about the difference between the last few years at Badger and this year at Ysn. A tough start to the year for my buddy Lavelle, but that is not going to stop him in the least. I can promise you that. That is not even a glimpse on the radar, so to speak, or a blip on the radar. My dude's going to have those young ladies ready and firing and being a solid team yet again here in 2023. We've got a great show for you. Topics today. I mean, listen, I know I bust Scotty's chops all the time, but we got to talk about the future of the AFC North and where is it? Where is it? There's a lot of people that are involved with the Browns, the Steelers. We've got Ravens fans that tune in. We've got Bengals fans that tune in. What is the future of the AFC North? And there's some questions I had just in general about. We talk about role models a lot on this show, right? We talk about setting the example for the younger ages. So you talk about high school and even college, but you talk about youth. And yesterday I saw something incredibly disturbing that I hope I never see again, but I know I will. We're going to talk about that and what I think it means when you see stuff like that on television and professionals doing it. And does it give a go-ahead? Does it give the okay to younger athletes to do the same thing because they saw their idols doing it? We'll talk about that here on the Power Hour. We're also going to talk, there's some rule changes this year in the OHSAA that I think you need to be aware of. And the big ones for foul shots. Instead of the double bonus, you get, we're going to break it down because I still don't understand it. I don't get it. I don't understand why it needs to be changed. I don't think it was broke, but yet we are fixing it. We're going to talk about that all coming up. And that's it. And then we'll have Lavelle at 3:30, and then we'll wrap it up with the Joe Dickey Electric What's Your Spark, presented by Joe Dickey Electric. Thanks to Eric Carlson, the Dickey family, everybody over there that continue to support this show. By the way, if you would like to support YSN, you see it all the time. We've got 12 million views this year. Yes, I didn't stutter for once. 12 million views on ysnlive.com alone. This year, we're looking to finish strong, getting to the 13 to 14 million. And I think we're going to knock it out of the park. We got a month to do it. I think we can knock out another 2 million views on the website. If my stats are correct, and then we're going to start with a bang next year, baby. 2024 is going to be strong. We've got some big news that we're going to unveil here in the coming weeks that is going to absolutely lock in that 2024 will be the biggest year yet for your sports network. All right, let's talk about AFC North. All right, so right now you've got the Baltimore Ravens, right? You've got the Pittsburgh Steelers, the Cleveland Browns, and the Cincinnati Bengals. The Bengals are on the downslope. Their arrow is down hard down. 0.0000000% chance that they're going to win the AFC North. Maybe 10 to 15% chance, as the pundits say, that they could even get in the playoffs. But without your franchise quarterback, one of the best quarterbacks in the league, in Joe Burrow, you are, as Mike Tomlin would say, you're urinating on the fire a little bit. I don't understand how the Bengals went from being superhuman and excuse me, let's put it out. Let's get a Gatorade break here real quick. The Bengals didn't start great. Let's start there, right? But the Bengals are a second half team where they just kind of get by the first 7, 8 games, and all of a sudden they turn it on, which is what they were doing. And then Joe Burrow goes down. Now all bets are off. All bets are off. It's one of those situations where if you're depending on one guy and that one guy goes down and your hopes are lost, there is no reason that fans should tune in. There's no reason that fans should come to the jungle and spend their money. There's no reason that these fans should have hope, because when you've got Jake Browning like they did yesterday, not that he's a bad quarterback, he's an okay backup. But when you're spending $100 million on a starting quarterback, he doesn't leave a whole lot in the old piggy bank to spend on a backup in case something happens to a starting quarterback. And if there's anybody that knows that, it should be the Cincinnati Bengals, who had Carson Palmer, who at the time was seen and verified as one of the top quarterbacks in the NFL, goes down to a leg injury, horrific leg injury, and the entire trajectory of that franchise is askew. It's derailed for years, decades even. Now you can talk about, the Ocho Cinco years and the House Mazode and, like Andy Dalton. Oh, okay. I'll give you that. And you won a couple games, but there was no belief like there is now. Let's put them aside, because I feel like they don't have a they don't have a chance. I'm sorry. I wouldn't, as a guy that loves to gamble a little bit on the sports betting. I don't think I'll bet on the Bengals at any point the rest of the year. Not once, other than to go my infamous bet of going 3 and out or punting on the first drive. That's probably that's the extent of what I would bet on the Bengals. Let's go to the top of the division. The Ravens. The Ravens, and I'm going to say this with all due respect because they did win the game last night. They did not look good. They did not look good. And I hate to point to one guy, but you bring in a guy like OBJ. You bring in a guy that's supposed to, that has been supposedly a leader in other locker rooms. And I feel like the firm leadership that Lamar Jackson has had on this team is now gone. I think, in my heart of hearts, I think OBJ is a locker room deterrent. He is, I hate saying cancer because that's such a tough word. There's so many hurtful memories that come from that, but he's just an absolute divider. He divides locker rooms. He tries to get people. He's an influencer for sure, but not for the right reasons. We saw that in Cleveland. We saw what has happened. What Cleveland could have been, I think, scared a lot of Pittsburgh fans. I think it scared a lot of Baltimore fans. And what Cleveland is now, I don't think holds a candle to what they could have been with a Baker Mayfield and that whole crew, Jarvis Landry, and the list goes on and on and on, and what they've been able to get since, minus Deshaun Watson. I'm a firm believer, and I know it's Monday morning quarterback stuff, but I'm a firm believer that Cleveland could be at the top of the football world had they continued to go in the direction that they were going. I do. And I think Baltimore is a direct reason, is a direct reflection. Their success is a direct reflection of what Cleveland could have been. And now Baltimore brings in OBJ into the locker room. The dude is a 1-catch, 2-catch, 3-catch. I think last night he had 4 catches, something like that. He's not the OBJ that was in New York. And even that OBJ, I think everybody would agree, is a little bit up the scale. He's a little bit bloated from what everybody thought he was. The receiver that he was made out to be, not sure he was that good. Not, and I don't want to say that good. He wasn't as good as people made him out to be. But the real trouble, the Ravens are going to hit you, right? The Ravens, they showed last night, they've shown all year, they're going to bring those black and purple helmets to the football. They're going to smack you. They're going to punch you in the mouth. They're going to make it hurt. But in reality, they are susceptible to a lot. And Justin Herbert did it last night very well. He threw to the outside. The running game was shut down, but that's AFC North football. It's hard to run in the AFC North, and especially if you're an AFC West team like Los Angeles, you're going to have a tough time running the football. Austin Eckler is not going to work out for you. It's just not. If you don't have a power running back or a 1-2 punch that's going, side, front, back, and everywhere in between, you're going to have a tough time. I think the Ravens win the division at the end of the day. I think the Ravens win the division. Then you get to my Pittsburgh Steelers. And I'm trying to do this with zero bias, which is actually easier than it's ever been at this point because I don't know who this team is. I think we're all kind of waiting and trying to figure out and talking to my wife. I mean, she wants to hear what everybody else has to say about watching the game yesterday because I think we're still kind of excited, yet you kind of put your hands on your hips a little bit and you're like, okay, you only score 16 points, but you have 400 yards of offense for the first time in 58 games. What does that constitute? What does that look like? Is this a successful team? And then you've got Mike Tomlin, who does a great job at his press conferences, jumps in, and he's a player's coach. He's all that. And he says, it doesn't look like we did a lot, but we had 400 yards, and we had a couple of touchdowns that were probably taken away. But they're not touchdowns. If they're not on the board, they're not touchdowns. Success to me looks like the left side of the win-loss column. That's what success looks like. And there's a lot of people that will make a lot of excuses and they'll say, yeah, but. At the end of the day, did you win the game? Did you compete? Did you win? Were you successful? Yes, no. There is no maybe. It's a yes or no. It's a yes or no. And I guess ties would be maybe, which we almost had one last night. But when you look at the Steelers team over the first, 10 weeks, 11 weeks, man, was it tough to watch. I mean, really, really tough to watch. You win that game against Cleveland and you feel like, okay, you don't know whether to be mad because that's not the way you like winning. You're kind of just discombobulated a little bit, like I am today. You wonder, what happened? It was almost like you were intoxicated, and you wake up the next morning, you're like, what happened last night? What happened yesterday? And then you quickly realize you were watching Steelers football, which this has been the MO for, since 2020, at least, since we were the worst undefeated team in the history of football. But there's some things that I really liked yesterday. There's some things that I really didn't like yesterday for the Steelers. For me, the things that I didn't like, which we're going to get into a whole lot more, Deontay Johnson. If you saw the fumble of Jaylen Warren on the left side of the field, Deontay Johnson was just going through the motions. Lined up on, I think it was the slot. He lines up and he puts two arms out and just basically plays patty cake with the defensive back. Jaylen Warren fumbles. The ball goes right by Deontay Johnson. He's walking away from it. The dude never made a football play. And he's getting buku bucks and cried about it for how long because he was the guy. And he doesn't want to give 100% effort. Well, there's guys on the bench like Calvin Austin the third and some other receivers, I'm sure. And the receivers that come to Pittsburgh are usually pretty good. They're pretty good at scouting receivers. But you look at that and you just go, man, that's what you want to leave on tape? That's what you want to sit there and say, I helped my team in every way I could. If it's blocking, it's blocking. That's 99% of football is blocking. Especially if you're on, definitely if you're on offense. The other part is clogging and tackling, right? I think we've got the Steelers have a problem. Steelers have a problem in their locker room. And it's a lot of the same stuff that we saw in Cleveland or we're seeing in Cleveland. Deontay Johnson's a problem. George Pickens is starting to be a problem. I don't know what it means when you erase everything off your Instagram that has to do with Pittsburgh Steelers. I don't know what that looks like. I don't know what that is. To me, that's an immature thing to do. So if you're out there and you're a young athlete, you're a young student athlete, and you think that it's a good idea if your coach decides that he's going to bench you one day or he's going to make you run laps or he's going to push you to your limits and you're going to get mad at him, that you're going to just erase everything that was associated with the people that made you, your teammates, and that's not a good idea. It's not a good choice. It's okay to have a bad day. It's not okay to have a bad life. It's not okay to point at that and say, this decision is compounding because I'm not happy. The 24-hour rule is something that I think more people than not need to adopt. Coaches have learned after tough losses, even at the high school levels, especially at the high school levels where there is no media training for high school athletes. There is no media training for high school coaches. Don't talk to the media. Don't talk to the press. Well, we've got a job to do. Go interview the winner. If you need your soundbite, I understand if it's a state championship loss and that's the only time you're going to get to talk to them again, or if it's a season-ending loss, that's different. Because the sound bites are built in. The coach can say, you know what? We had a great year. Only one team ends the season with a win, right? Andy says it best, way better than I can. But the reality is that we've gone everything the kids see on professional ranks, college ranks, pulls its way down to high school. And we're going to talk about that in a little bit, but we got to get to the Browns. Man. I don't know. I made a comment on Saturday when I was watching with my good buddy, Gary Leininger, shout out, the Ohio State-Michigan game, and somebody was grilling me about the Browns and telling me about the Steelers, and they were on their high horse. At the time, I think the game was tied in the Ohio State-Michigan game, which means something. And they said, well, I think the Browns can make a run. This is the year they're going to do it. There's an unsuspecting quarterback. Listen, Browns fans, love you. Love you. You are delusional. If you're in the camp that DTR or PJ Walker or Joe Flacco is going to get you to the promised land, you might not even get to the playoffs at this point. And you're going to sit there and say, oh, you said all these nice things about the Pittsburgh Steelers because you're a Steelers fan. You wear a Steelers sweatshirt. You got all that stuff behind you. Listen, watching the Steelers-Browns game, if you think that game tape is going to end up in Canton, so if the aliens were to come down after a mass apocalypse and say, what did they do? What is this sport? And they saw the only game tape available of football was the Browns and Steelers from last week, and the aliens watched it, they would say, no thanks. This game is dumb. It is boring. It is ridiculous. And nobody's very good at it. That's what they would say about last week's game. And there's a lot of Browns fans. They got the win. Be excited, right? My buddy Chuck, who I love the biggest Cleveland fan, Cleveland nut, season tickets to the Browns, goes to the Muni lot at 5 a.m., does that whole thing until 1 a.m. or till 1 p.m. They goes to the game. Natural leader of Cleveland. You're allowed to believe. There's nothing wrong. It's called being a fan. But for goodness sake, let's put some reality to it, right? Because just like the Browns, when they put bad stuff on tape, there are going to be ramifications for that. If you're a Browns fan and you like to hop on social media, or let's go ahead and lump in Ohio State while we're at it. If you're a Buckeye fan and you like to do your squawking on social media, you'd better be ready. You'd better be ready when the rubber meets the road. Because let's just have no doubt that first off, Ohio State, which most Ohio State fans knew this was not one of the best teams of the last 2, 3, 4, 5, 10 years. This Browns team isn't even close to the best team. And I think the chickens are coming home to roost, Bobby Boucher. The chickens are coming home to roost. And I really believe that the Browns may not win another game. And I'm not saying that because I'm trying to be mean because Cleveland fans, I'm saying that because I honestly look at their schedule and I go, I don't know. Like, what's the answer? Who's throwing the football? 1 second it was DTR. The next second it was PJ Walker. I half expected Joe Flacco to come in and try to throw some passes. And the only reason that the Browns offense is successful is because it's based on mobility. And then you go get Joe Flacco. I'm baffled. I don't know. I don't know. And I'm not trying, again, I'm not trying to take away the lollipop out of the mouth of all the Browns fans. Keep it. Roll with it. Please bet responsibly. Please speak responsibly about the Browns. Because it ain't good right now. Life is not good if you're a Cleveland Browns fan. I know you're 7-4. This might be the worst rendition of the Pittsburgh Steelers that has ever been put out there offensively. But they just threw for 400 yards. And that hasn't happened in 58 games. And that includes the big guy, old number 7. They still stink. But their arrow's going up. The Browns' arrow's going down. It just is. It just is. And I'm sorry if you're a Browns fan and you get frustrated. I really am. But you had to see this coming, right? You had to see it coming. Let's get to the comments here real quick. Oh, Sammy's up. Sammy says they gambled and lost. You had a guy in Baker that was a fringe top 16 guy, and they gambled on a guy that could be a top 5 guy. It's Cleveland being Cleveland. And then he goes on to say, neither team has a quarterback. Weird for the Buckeyes, but on par for the Browns. Both teams have to fix it, or it's going to be a tough time. I used to like you. Well, let's get to Sammy's comment first, because we got Lavelle coming on in a couple minutes. When he pops in, we'll take a break, and then we'll come back with Lavelle Turnage. Yes, Sammy, I think quarterback's a problem for Ohio State. I think the bigger problem is your head coach. And the bigger problem, and I've said this from the jump, I am not a Ryan Day guy. I'm not anti-Ohio State. I am just not on kind terms. It's like one of those ex-girlfriends that, you thought you loved, but knew kind of at the end of the day it wasn't going to work out, but you hung in there because she was really cute. Nah. Like, after what they did to Jimmy T, Coach Tressel, I'm out. There is one guy. Two guys, really, but one major guy. If they bring him in after, I think they should cut ties with Ryan Day, I'm back in. That guy, David Balestrino, nailed it. Hartline. Brian Hartline. Say what you want. Dude is an Ohio Stater. Dude is part of that Tressel tree, right? He changes the program. He gets his program back on track. He can recruit this program. He knows what it needs. He's an offensive mind. You don't have to change the defense at all. Yeah, he can recruit. He sure can. And that, my friends, is the name of the game right now. That is super awesome that you've got some guys. You don't know how long these guys are going to be there. You don't know what's going through their mind. And with the NIL, you need the best recruiter, the best sales guy you can put in that chair, that you can put on that sideline. Because your offensive coordinator should be calling the offense. Your defensive coordinator should be calling the defense. You, as a head coach at any level, are the CEO of that team, of that program, of that company, whatever it is. You are doing listen, you are digging stuff out of the barn that nobody wants to dig up at 5 a.m. because it's your rear end on the line. Yes, you're getting paid a little bit more, right? In some cases, in some instances, a lot a bit more. But the reality of the situation is that when you're looking in the mirror as a CEO, everybody else's reflection is in that same mirror. It's not just you. But if you're a defensive coordinator, it's just you. If you're an offensive coordinator, it's just you. If you are a head coach of a team at any level other than T-ball, when you look in the mirror, it's not your eyes you're locking onto. It's everybody else in the background that reflects in that same mirror. Browns are in the same spot. Kevin Stefanski, people were talking about him as the coach of the year. The coach of the year. Folks, he might not even make it to next year. He may not make it to next year. You might have 2 out of 3 coaches that played this weekend in the state of Ohio might be looking to polish up their resumes at the end of the year. One guy that won't be polishing up his resume at the end of this year is Lavelle Turnage. We're going to have him, and we're going to talk some Ursuline hoops right after the break, right here on the Ysn Power Hour, proudly powered by our friends over at Toyota of Warren.
We believe expectations are made to be exceeded. At the new Toyota of Warren, it's about more than just getting a great deal. It's about service you can count on and a friendship you can trust. Year after year, we've done what we do best. We've gone the extra mile so you could too. Because we know it's just not about buying a new car. It's the start of a new adventure. Toyota of Warren, driven by you.
As Comco celebrated 70 years in 2022, we have much to be thankful for. We are proud of the Comco culture as we serve our customers with Comco Care with our premier customer service, quality parts, and on-time delivery. The partnerships we have with our customers and our community are second to none. We thank you for your continued support. We are proud to be part of this community and will continue to offer great jobs for great people.
Change. This one word can make you break out in a cold sweat. But with change comes wisdom, experience, and understanding. At Myers Family Insurance, we can help make changes in Medicare, insurance, and retirement a positive experience for you and your family. We've gone through changes, like our new office and new faces to help our family of clients too.
For all your Medicare needs, call Myers Family Insurance.
Check us out online at myersfamilyins.com
Or find us on Facebook.
And welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. It is the Ysn Power Hour brought to you by our friends at Toyota of Warren. And now we go to the interwebs and we bring in one of my favorite dudes there is out there. Had a nice little chat with him earlier today. We said, hey, let's jump on the show. Let's talk about the Ursuline girls. Ladies and gentlemen, first-year head coach of the Ursuline Lady Irish, Mr. Lavelle Turns. What's up, El?
How you doing, sir?
I'm good, man. How are you?
I'm doing well.
How did Turkey Day treat you?
Thanksgiving was very relaxing.
Well, that's good. You need it this time of year because this is the last relaxing bit you're going to get until, I don't know, what, about March?
Yes, sir. So, yeah, I just spent time with family. Of course, I watched basketball, I watched some football, just doing the little things right now just to appreciate what was coming along with the season. So, yeah.
I love it, man. All right, so let's talk big change for you. It started last year right after the season at Badger. You, my friend, were up for seemingly every single coach's award there was with the Lady Braves. And then this opportunity opens up, and one that you can't pass up. You come home, and you get to be the head coach of the Lady Irish. What has been the biggest eye-opener to you in making that switch from then until now?
I think the biggest thing, like you said, is just being back at home. So being back at home at my former high school is just something like the feeling every time I walk in the gym, even when I came to watch a few of my AU players or Coach Bernard, or even just come to watch some boys basketball for Coach Gunther. It's just memories about even with the conditioning, even with the games, even wins and losses. So just being back at home has been the most eventful thing. So it's not work. It's not even being a head coach. It's just, how can I make an impact and not only in my lives to others, but also impact whatever kid I come across here at Ursuline. They might not even play basketball. So the most eventful, I would definitely say, just be at home.
And I think everybody can appreciate that. It's always good to come home. For you, I mean, coming home was a lot of buildup to get to this point. There's some coaches that aren't even signed until, well, it's what, November? Some of them haven't even been signed. And in September, you've had a whole year to kind of ramp up for this. And you guys, last night, right, you were playing in Hiram.
Yes.
So when you think about being able to crack that code and the build up, the hype up, and then all of a sudden it's game time, would you rather have that long runway, or would you rather just kind of have what you have and try to make whatever's in the kitchen, so to speak?
Listen, one thing me and Coach Upshar has always talked about, he taught me this. He said, listen, coach the kids that want to be there. So I'd rather have the kids that are there. Like, here now, we'll figure it out. Listen, constantly throughout the season, we're going to make adjustments, no matter if it's in the game, at practice. So I'm a coach who always thinks about, hey, listen, anything in life, you always have to make adjustments. Everything doesn't go as planned. So I try to use that philosophy as I get into my coaching style. So I love the group I have right now. So we have our lumps, our bruises, and, a difficult schedule, but that's part of the journey. I appreciate the most. Like, you don't want to have everything handed to you easily. You want to go through some adversity, see how your team responds, and just prepare us for the right way for the tournament.
You mentioned that difficult schedule. I mean, you started out pretty difficult with Hoban last night. I mean, when you're looking at that schedule, there's a lot of people that would balk at it. There was a lot of people that would look at it and be like, oh, man, we're just hoping to get a dub somewhere. you're a competitive dude, like one of the most competitive people I know. When you look at that schedule, what are you trying to take away from it other than just wins and losses?
I think the biggest thing I've constantly teach the girls is it's little things. We treat our team as puzzle pieces, and if that puzzle piece doesn't do its job, then you won't get to see the beauty of the picture at the end of the story. So, um, the difficult struggles, games is a good thing. It's not a bad thing. So, just learning how to communicate better. And I always tell them, I said, listen, if you can make layups, make free throws, and play defense, those three things will always keep you in the basketball game. And so, I appreciate playing the Hobans and the St. Vincent St. Mary's and the Louisville's and the Salem's, the Canfields, the West Branches. I like a schedule like that because at the end of the day, any sport you play, you should have to play it the right way. You should have to play. That's why you have Cinderella stories. That's why you have teams that have no business even winning or staying in the game, but because you still have to play the sport. So I embrace it. I appreciate the schedule we have and the opportunity of just learning each other each and out every day of the season.
And I think we can all appreciate you in the fact that being able to look at these teams in the eye, knowing that you're a first year head coach in this program, and you've got some senior playmakers on this
Hmm.
team, no doubt. But you also are trying to build this program. I
Yes.
know B. Scott left the keys basically right into your lap. He said, "Hey, this isn't a Pinto. This is a Maserati, and this baby can fly with the
Hmm.
right coaching." For him to, and I know he's been a mentor of yours, for him to kind of give you the keys to the castle, what does that mean to you, and what kind of things did he tell you in kind of taking over the Lady Irish program?
Listen, I still to this day, I still we talk practically 3 4 times out the week. And he just somebody I always since I met him the past 3.5 years, I looked up to him and I just want to learn the game the right way. And so I learned bits and pieces of what it takes to keep the Maserati going. Like what needs to be the oil, what kind of oil we need for the oil change, tires. And so I look at it in the aspect as far as he's at the end of the day, he's teaching me about life. And that's the one thing I can appreciate the most. And I try to instill that to the girls. Because at the end of the day, I'm not teaching them to be basketball players. I'm teaching them to be great young women in life. I know sometimes in life it's very difficult for a young lady to get opportunity they deserve, but I want to teach them that hey, listen, if you keep working towards it, anything can happen. And so I'm big on that. And so we just translate life into basketball and go from there. Honestly,
So for you, I mean, we talked about those seniors, those upperclassmen that you have, those playmakers. Give us a little bit more in-depth breakdown of who we're going to be calling on YSN this year, and some of the players that everybody should be watching out for.
so I'll be honest. We have a group of four. Of course, Lily Scott is a listen. She's a phenomenal point guard, and I'm not just saying that because she's my point guard, but honestly, like she's gonna play at Mount Union next year, and honestly, she plays the game the right way. Sometimes she plays it too much the right way. I sometimes selfishly I want her to take more shots, but just know who she is as a person. I know that's not her, but the way her and Meredith Gray has been leading this team, I've been extremely proud of them. You also can expect something from Kayla Grope, um, transfer from Southeast, and then Kennedy Carpenter is pretty special. Um, she is a freshman, 6 foot, can play the game inside out. I was pretty impressed the way she handled Canton Central as a freshman coming in 16-10. It's not easy for any freshman going from middle school basketball straight to varsity. And so, and we have role players that are phenomenal, like Brooke O'Palick. Anybody who knows me knows her nickname is Pat Bev. So she's feisty. She's a great defender. She'll go get rebounds. She'll take a charge. Carly Casey is another sophomore who can play the game the right way. We got, honestly, DJ, if we have 10 girls that can play the game. But anybody knows basketball. 10 players is a lot to play at the times, and so figuring out rotations, figuring out what group to put in certain situations, defense, offense. If we need to stop, we need a bucket. So that's the thing we're figuring out right now. So we have a legit 10 girls that can play the game the right way.
What are some of the challenges that you feel when you look at this roster, when you look at this program, where it's at right now, where you want it to go? What are some of the challenges you feel you're going to face in year one that you're trying to get ahead of?
So I think the biggest challenge for me is right now is the underclassmen. We have more underclassmen than upperclassmen, and so in a sense, we only have out of those 10, 3 upperclassmen, and then we have 7 underclassmen. I look at it as a good and a bad thing. With those underclassmen, you're gonna have those growing pains. You're gonna have to figure out what they are good at, what they're not good at. And honestly, the roles this year might change to something completely next year. And so I'm trying to build your confidence up. My biggest thing I always tell the girls is go make mistakes. Like just go play hard and go make mistakes. And so that's the biggest thing I want to see out of them. I think when they become juniors and seniors, we'll be one of the veteran teams in the area that's going to compete at a high level. And that's one thing I want to instill in them at this very moment.
So when you're looking at Ursuline, when you put that shirt on with the U on it, you look down, you see the shamrock in the middle of your floor.
Mm-hmm.
What feelings come to you as someone who just loves and respects that school and those programs so much?
See, there's a reason why green is my favorite color because of Ursuline and because of Michigan State Spartans. So starting with them, it's just I was talking to my assistant the other day, and I said to him, I said, "There's not a moment that I don't embrace or enjoy coming into the school, like walking around, seeing our AD, seeing former students in my class, seeing former teachers that are now coaches that I love seeing their face, and so I love it so much. In our off season, I would legit go watch Coach Reardon's football practice because I need to figure out, hey, what are you doing? What did you do to get your program to this level? And so I'm constantly asking questions, trying to learn. Um, and I remember it's the craziest thing that I was actually the ball boy when they won the first state championship in 2004. And
Wow.
so just seeing everything happen full circle, it's kind of mind blowing. Like it hit me, but it doesn't really hit me yet. Like if you'd have told me 20 years ago that I would have been in the girls basketball program, I would have called you crazy because I never wanted to teach young ladies. But I feel like he never makes mistakes, and that's the biggest thing I'm learning right now. Being one of the youngest coaches in the area and the youngest female coaches, sometimes you get a stigma of like not really knowing. And so just being year 5 and coaching high school girls basketball, I'm learning that it's a journey. And, you take your lumps, you take your bruises. Every season is a different season. And so that's the I'm taking away right now from being back at Ursuline.
So for you, I guess one of the biggest questions I have to kind of put a spin on this for you is, and a bow on it. You love that Badger program so much. You did so much to build up that Badger program, and some people might think it was real easy for you to walk away, and I think that there's a misconception there because you wanted to finish what you started, especially with some of the girls on that team. How tough was the decision for you to kind of leave one program to start another?
If I'm being honest, so I'll never forget the day I resigned. So when I was driving there, I was telling myself, you might need to slow down because it's not gonna. It was a very difficult decision. And anybody, I love until to this day, I love my players from Badger. Katie Grexa reaches out to me day, every single day. And so other players reach out for my team last year, and it was more difficult because if I'm being selfishly, this year's team could have been better than last year's team.
Mm-hmm.
And selfishly, we didn't get it done. We lost in the district championship. And honestly, it was a few factors. I had to pray to God, like, listen, what do you want me to do? And I don't really tell people this story, but I'll tell you, it was we played LeBray last year, around the bus, and I'm playing my music, I'm listening, I'm praying, and he said to me, he said, listen, you won't be here next year, but they'll be just fine. And honestly, DJ, I started crying. My
Yeah.
hood was up. Nobody knew I was crying. I said, I don't understand. He said, you won't understand. And so I didn't know it was Ursuline, but I didn't know what he was talking about at the same time too. And so I miss him every single day. And just seeing him come to our scrimmages, come to our game last night. It's never easy, but at the end of the day, it shows me how much of an impact I made on their lives, and they still reach out to me this day. Like every single one of those players who I encounter with, former players, players on the team now, players I didn't get the opportunity to coach with, constantly show me love, embrace me, and so that's one thing I would never be, I would never regret. So my time at Badger, it was a stepping stone, and I knew that from the very beginning. I just knew I thought I would go straight to college, but that's not how life works. And so just progressing in life and just trying to be a better man each day is the ultimate goal for not for me for others, my son, my teammates, and my players. That's just who I'm trying to strive to be. It's not about me at the end of the day.
I was just going to ask you. I mean, you've got a young one at home,
Yeah.
and you're trying to teach him, and this is guys everywhere. This isn't just your son. This is everybody
Yeah.
that looks at you. And now from the Badger to the Ursuline programs, you're trying to lead by example. And
Yeah.
the thing that I love most about you, and I know your favorite color is green, dude, but at the end of the day, it doesn't matter what color those uniforms are. You love on each and every one of those young ladies the way they should be, and you teach them up and coach them up the right way. And
Yes, sir.
that's, you know, you've been part of our All-Star games for a couple of years now, and we can't appreciate that enough. And there's a reason for that, and it's because you look after them, and to start building those relationships and letting them know that even though you might be on the opposite sideline, it doesn't mean that you don't care and you're not watching. So for you, long way around a short question, why do you do what you do?
It's crazy you say that because I grew up in a single parent household, and so most people know, most people don't know. My dad's been in prison since I was 3. He will get out when I turn 33. So it's been a rough journey, navigating being a father without having my father. And so I used to work at a juvenile detention center in Youngstown, and probably my favorite job I've ever worked. And it started there because God told me, He said, "Listen, you know, there's a reason to my madness. Why you didn't have your dad, why you became a father, why you knew you have a son." He reminded me. He said to me, he said, "No matter what child you interact with, I need you to let them know how much they are loved because of what life brings." And so I let my players know, like, listen, no matter what happens, I will always love you. That's a commitment I made to God. I said to him, I said, listen, I will obey what you're saying. Will it be easy? No, it won't be easy, but it'll be difficult. But you have those days, and so I, I just love what I do. And to answer the second part of the question is, women's basketball is something I love basketball, but I'm a little more biased now because it's girls basketball, and so like moving the needle for girls basketball, not just here in Northeast Ohio, but across the country, is something I strive on every single day. Because as you can see, the game is growing. It's constantly growing in college and even in the WNBA. And so I just want those young ladies to get the opportunity to play at the next level or impact the next level, rather that's being a team manager, a coach, a videographer, whatever it may be. It could be done. And so the NBA is doing a good job right now as far as hiring female coaches, in the G League and the NBA, as far as making a huge impact. And so I want to be part of moving that needle. And so that's something I'm striving for right now.
Lavelle Turnich, the head basketball coach of the Ursuline Lady Irish basketball team. My dude, I love you and I appreciate you more than you'll ever
Love you too,
know.
man.
Go give that beautiful family a hug and a kiss, because I know you don't see them a whole lot of time this year. So thanks for taking some time and cutting some time out for us, and we will certainly see you weekly, hopefully, man. Love having you on the show.
Yes, sir. Appreciate it.
You got it. LT, be well, my brother.
Yes, sir.
There he goes. Lavelle Turnage, my guy, like forever. You know, he mentioned Josh Upshire, in the beginning of that interview, and he and Josh are two guys that I don't know. To be honest with you, I don't know how the relationship began, but I know how it's going, and I know how it's going to end, and that's continuing to be with guys like that and to make bigger impacts on the communities that they're in, and not just their communities that they coach in, the communities that they're in. And Lavelle is a unbelievable coach, and he is doing major impacting things and making a huge splash in girls basketball and girls sports in general. So if you haven't had a chance to meet Lavelle Turnage, I hope you got a good look at him there, because he's a different type of cat. It is time for the Joe Dickey Electric What's Your Spark, presented by Joe Dickey Electric. Anything commercial, anything industrial, anything residential, anything that makes it go zap, we need you to head on over to DickeyElectric.com and tell them why Ysn sent you. Tell Eric hello. Today's spark real easy. We got into a little bit earlier. Deontay Johnson, the fumble of Jaylen Warren, and the dude just not doing his job at all. And I don't have the numbers in front of me, how much he gets paid on a yearly basis. And I'm not going to get into that. And I actually feel bad because I was one of the Fire Canada people. And then I listened to a Cam Hayward interview, and it was, I would never get behind anything that cost someone their job. And it made me think a little bit. And then I realized, man, what kind of person am I calling for this guy to get fired? Can you imagine? Can you imagine? And I got to check myself because I did a whole segment on Ryan Day getting fired. But can you imagine if we were all on the spot like that? Can you imagine if they came to the Wendy's that we worked at when we were growing up, or the Walmart, and there was somebody grading us every step of the way? And if we didn't do what we were supposed to do, like some Karen went to our manager, or I guess 100,000 Karens went to Twitter and told our manager on us that somebody else could do a better job. So let's I guess the question is this. When something happens like that, and it appears like somebody's frustrated and they're not doing their job, like Deontay Johnson yesterday, like I mean, you talk about Matt Canada. I don't know that Matt Canada was ever like wrong. And I mean that in a different way, right? Didn't call the right plays. But I don't know that his intent was wrong. I don't think that he didn't love what he did. I think it's hard to take and be scrutinized sometimes, especially in a public setting. But then you got a guy like Deontay Johnson. And if you haven't seen the clip, please go on Twitter. Just look up Deontay Johnson and you'll find it in the first scroll. You've got a guy that has stadiums of fans at Acrisure Stadium, at the PPG Sports Complex where the Penguins play. I mean, at College Game, saying Fire Canada. This guy is an offensive coordinator. He's making maybe a 15th. And not that money matters, but let's be real. Coaches will tell you all the time, it's not the coaches that make the impact, it's the players that have to make the plays. So explain to me why it is that we give Deontay Johnson and what he pulled yesterday a pass. We give that a pass, hard pass. But Matt Canada is on the hook for 2 years. The Steelers get 400 yards but score 16 points. And guys like Deontay Johnson are getting a pass. I don't want Deontay Johnson fired. I want him motivated. I want to figure out, if I'm Mike Tomlin, what's motivating this guy to act like that? What's motivating this guy to be able to accept what he did and call out officials? He calls out officials after the game, not himself, not looking in that mirror like we talked about. He's calling out officials and saying, what I had should have been a touchdown. I got 3 feet down. Not, we should have scored a touchdown again because I should have had that fumble. I should have had the guy that eventually picked up the fumble blocked. Not that. It's accountability. It's accountability. We talk about this all the time. We've grown too accustomed in the sports world to pointing the finger at somebody else, when reality is there should be 2 thumbs pointed right back at us. It's tough. It sucks. It's not great all the time. But accountability is, if you lose a game, watch the tape. Watch what you do. Watch what you're doing when you don't get the football. Receivers, backs. Watch what you're doing, defense, whenever the ball's not coming your way. What are you doing on the sidelines when your team's on the field? Are you watching? You goofing off? Are you staying focused? Are you doing your job? What are you doing on the sidelines, basketball players? Are you studying when you go in the game, what your defender is leaning left, leaning right, what tendencies they have? Because don't come at the media after the game and say, wasn't on me. I didn't get the ball. Do something. Create. You can create off the ball. You can create off of the bench. And you think I'm crazy. It's real. You can create stuff. You can create a dynamic, an intensity off the bench with the crowd, getting the crowd in the game. It's something as simple as that. Guys that are on the court, guys that are on the field shouldn't have to do this. This should be on the sidelines. The coach shouldn't have to do it. He's trying or she's trying to figure out what's going on so they can game plan and get their players in the game and make the right calls and the right substitutions and things of that nature. Right now, we are having a tough look at what our future holds because we are looking at a bunch of prima donna role players that want to be game changers. And I can tell you without a shadow of a doubt, it does not happen without you putting in that time, that effort. And that effort doesn't stop whenever you leave the floor or you leave the field. There's people that are going to ask you tough questions, and it's how you answer it. There's people that are going to expect more out of you as a leader when you're on the bench. Your coach doesn't expect you to just be the guy that totes the rock on the field, on the floor, and then you come off and you just slap jerk around. How are you teaching the guys that wish they were in your cleats, wish they were in your sneakers? How are you teaching them to act in an interview? Like, every coach should go back and watch Lavelle and understand that is how you motivate players. You care about them. Number one, you care about them. You treat them like family. You make them family. When they ask questions, you look them in the eyes. When they need something, you're there for them. You cannot expect people to follow you and walk with you and be led by you if you're not willing to be a servant leader. You have to serve the ones that you want to lead. That's how it goes. That's how it goes. So I can't imagine that the Steelers, who are probably off today, but tomorrow they're all going to watch film, and they're going to watch Deontay Johnson, and they're going to say, that's a guy that I want having the ball when the game's on the line. Kenny Pickett's going to look at that and go, that's a guy I'm not throwing to unless I have to. And sure, he's going to hear about it like he did 2 weeks ago. But you can't always have your cake and eat it too. Sometimes you have to suck it up, especially if you're a professional and getting paid for it. But if you want to get paid for it and be a professional someday, it's even more important. Be a leader, serve as a leader, and create that leadership bond within your community, within your team, within your locker room. That is the Joe Dickey Electric What's Your Spark. That is your show also. Welcome back, folks. Power Hour is back, and it is in style. Later this week, Andrew Cowley, we're going to have just signed on to Malone. We're excited to have him multiple time, I think 2-time, maybe even 3-time All-Star. 2-time, I think, for Ysn in the All-Star game. We're excited to see him go play at the next level. We'll interview him about his experience in the recruitment process and ultimately what he thinks his senior year holds for him. Also have Andy Hake on this week. as well, and a few other surprise guests. Want to thank you all for being part of today's broadcast. Want to thank Lavelle Turnage, who is always a great interview and a guy that I love talking to, whether it's on or off camera. And I want to thank you. And I want to thank our friends at Toyota of Warren, who continuously support us throughout the good, the bad, and the ugly. Ladies and gentlemen, that is the YSN Power Hour for the 27th of November. Hope you had a great Thanksgiving. Hope you have an even better today and an even more so tomorrow. God bless you, and we will see you tomorrow for YSN Power Hour, 3 o'clock Eastern, right here on your sports network. YSN thanks you for watching this presentation